Hey English learners, welcome back. So I need to be honest with you about something. For 5 years, 5 whole years, I was making a mistake in my English that literally nobody corrected me on. Not my teachers, not my friends, not even native speakers I talked to regularly. And the scary part is, I only found out because someone happened to mention it in passing, almost as a joke, and I remember just freezing for a second thinking, wait, what? Today I want to tell you exactly what that mistake was, why it went unnoticed for so long, and more importantly, the pattern behind it, because I promise you, if I made this mistake for 5 years without anyone telling me, there's a good chance you might be doing something very similar right now, and nobody's told you either. So stick around, because by the end of this video, I'm also going to show you how to actually catch these kinds of mistakes yourself, going forward. Here's something that I think doesn't get talked about enough in language learning. There's a category of mistakes that I like to call invisible mistakes. These aren't the mistakes that get corrected in a classroom, because they're not really wrong in an obvious grammatical sense. They don't stop communication. People understand you perfectly fine. But they sound slightly off to a native ear, slightly unnatural, slightly foreign, and because communication still works, nobody bothers to correct you. So here's what happened. I was in a group conversation, talking about my day, and I said something like, I agree with you. And one of my friends, half jokingly, half seriously, said, wait, you know it's just I agree, right? Not I agree. And I remember genuinely being shocked. Because in my head, I agree sounded completely fine. It felt natural to me. I had probably said that exact phrase hundreds, maybe thousands of times over 5 years, in conversations, in emails, in my head. And nobody had ever corrected me. Not once. Because again, everyone understood exactly what I meant. I agree with you communicates the idea perfectly clearly. There was never a moment of confusion. So there was never a natural moment for someone to stop and go, hey, actually, that's not quite right. What was actually happening grammatically is that I was treating agree like an adjective, the way you'd say, I am happy, or I am tired, instead of treating it like a verb, which is what it actually is in English. Agree is an action. You don't be agree, you do agree. So it's simply I agree, the same way you'd say I run, or I think no needed. And once I understood the actual pattern behind the mistake, not just the specific phrase, but the underlying logic, I started noticing similar mistakes I was making with other verbs too, that I had never caught before either. This is really the part one wants you to pay attention to, because this is bigger than just one small grammar mistake. What I realized is that this type of error, mixing up adjective patterns with verb patterns, was something I did with several words, not just agree. I also used to say things like, I understand instead of simply I understand. Or I prefer instead of I prefer. The reason this pattern is so sneaky is because in a lot of languages, including my first language, these types of expressions actually do use A to B structure. So my brain was applying a grammar pattern from my first language directly onto English, without realizing English handles these particular words completely differently. And here's the thing that really surprised me once I started paying attention. This type of mistake is incredibly common among learners, especially with certain opinion and mental state verbs, like agree, understand, prefer, believe, know, remember. These are verbs, not adjectives, in English, even though your brain might instinctively want to add or is before them, especially if that's the pattern in your first language. I want to pause here for a second, because I know some of you watching might be thinking, okay, but how do I find these hidden mistakes in my own English, if even native speakers don't correct them? That's exactly what I want to walk you through next. A few practical ways I now use to catch these invisible mistakes myself. Method number 1. Record yourself talking, and actually listen back critically. This sounds simple, but almost nobody does it. When we are speaking in real time, we are focused on the meaning we are trying to communicate. We are not analyzing our own grammar as we go. But when you record yourself, even just a 2-minute voice memo talking about your day, and then listen back later with fresh ears, you start to notice patterns you didn't catch while speaking. I do this now about once a week. I record myself talking casually about something, my day, a random topic, anything, and later, I listen back specifically looking for anything that sounds slightly off, even if I can't immediately explain why. Method number 2. Compare your sentences directly against how natives phrase the exact same idea. This is incredibly powerful, and here's how it works. Take a sentence you say often, for example, I am agree, and literally search it, or ask a native speaker, or check it against content you're consuming, to see how a native speaker would phrase that exact same idea. You'll often find these small mismatches this way, because you're doing a direct side-by-side comparison, rather than just hoping the mistake surfaces naturally in conversation. Method number 3. Pay close attention to mental state and opinion verbs specifically. Since I now know this is a common trouble spot, I specifically double-check verbs like agree, understand, prefer, believe, remember, forget, know, whenever I'm speaking or writing. I literally ask myself, am I about to add or is before this word, when I shouldn't be? Over time, this became automatic, but at the beginning, I had to consciously check myself. Method number 5. Read your own writing out loud. This one's simple but effective. Whenever I write something in English, an email, a caption, a message, I read it out loud before sending it. Sometimes a sentence looks fine written down, but the second you say it out loud, something sounds off in a way that wasn't obvious on the page. This has caught several small errors for me that I otherwise wouldn't have noticed. Let me walk you through exactly how I used method number 1, recording myself, to catch a mistake recently. I recorded a 2-minute clip of myself talking about my weekend. When I listened back, I noticed I said, I remember when we went there. Immediately, hearing it played back, it sounded off to me in a way it hadn't while I was speaking. And that's exactly the value of this method. In the moment of speaking, you're too focused on meaning to notice these small slips. But listening back with distance, your brain catches things it missed the first time. This has honestly become one of my favorite habits, because it's like getting a free, judgment-free English lesson from myself every single week. So let's recap what we covered today. I made a mistake, saying I agree instead of I agree for 5 years, completely unnoticed, because it never actually interrupted communication. And the deeper lesson here is that certain verbs, especially opinion and mental state verbs like agree, understand, prefer, believe, and know, don't take or is in English, even if that pattern feels natural coming from your first language. And to catch these invisible mistakes in your own English going forward, record yourself and listen back critically. Compare your phrasing directly to native speakers. Pay close attention to those specific mental state verbs. Ask people to explicitly correct you, and read your writing out loud before sending it. If this video resonated with you, or if you just realized you might be making a similar mistake, let me know in the comments. I'd genuinely love to know if "I am agree" was something you were doing too. And if you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. I post lessons like this every week. I also have a free guide with more common invisible mistakes learners make. Link is in the description. Just enter your email, and I'll send it straight to your inbox. If you liked this video, I think you'll really enjoy this next one, where I talk about 3 small sentence patterns that instantly make you sound more natural. Click right here and I'll see you in that video.